Hey guys, tonight we're heading into candlelit halls and paint smeared studios, slipping through velvet drapes and the echo of church bells to explore a world where desire was coated in brushstrokes and longing was draped in silk. You're standing inside a Renaissance artist's workshop, oak beams above the tang of turpentine in the air, and an unfinished canvas glaring back at you with eyes that might be saying something forbidden. You probably won't survive this if you're expecting clean timelines or easy answers. The Renaissance, with all its beauty and brilliance, was also a time of whispered dangers and unspeakable affections. To understand how queer love was hidden in plain sight, you'll need to sharpen your eyes, open your mind, and maybe get a little paint on your fingers. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, where are you listening from tonight? Drop your city and local time in the comments. It's always a comfort to see who else is drifting through history with us. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in the heart of Florence around the year 1480. The scent of warm bread and beeswax hangs in the narrow alleyways. Inside a painter's studio, a young apprentice mixes lapis lazuli into a heavenly blue, while his master, robed in wine-colored velvet, studies a sketch of a saint, with cheekbones sharp enough to slice the tension in the room. That saint, by the way, looks suspiciously like the model they both keep, stealing glances at a young man with golden curls posing with just a little too much familiarity. This is how it worked in the Renaissance. Artists under intense patronage and moral scrutiny often slipped their truths into compositions, into the curve of a hip, the tilt of a chin, the placement of a hand resting just a breath too long. Love between men or women wasn't just taboo. It was illegal in most of Europe, punishable by imprisonment, exile, or worse. And yet here it is, grinning back from the corner of a fresco like it belongs, because maybe it does. There's something you should know about these artists. They were rule breakers, not just with light and shadow, but with society. They lived in tension, one brush dipped in devotion, the other in rebellion, and sometimes both in the same pot. Take Sandro Botticelli, for instance. He painted The Birth of Venus, that elegant goddess on the clamshell, wind-tousled and mysterious. But some scholars argue that his male figures, especially those in Primavera, carry more than just classical beauty. They bear intimacy, fluidity, softness that flickers between genders. The androgyny isn't just style, it's subtext, and maybe even confession. And let's not forget that Botticelli requested to be buried at the feet of Simonetta Vespucci, his muse, sure, but also a woman who was long dead when he made the request. Historians still argue whether this was romance reverence or deflection from something far less heteronormative. But he wasn't the only one painting with double meaning. As you wander through dusty chapels and palatial galleries, you begin to notice a recurring theme of beauty, just slightly out of place. Saint Sebastian, for example, martyred arrow-pierced and nearly naked, is depicted by almost every major artist of the time. His expression blissed out, his body positively glistening. It's not hard to see why he became a gay icon centuries later. His pain, his ecstasy, his exposed vulnerability. Every canvas seems to say, look closely, this is more than sainthood. Even among contemporaries, there were whispers. Lorenzo de' Medici, Florence's ruling magnate and patron of the arts, kept a court of poets and painters whose odes to male beauty rivaled their theological commissions. In public, they wrote hymns to the divine. In private, they exchanged sonnets about each other's eyelashes. Just Renaissance things. Now, pause here. Imagine you're an artist whose every movement is watched. You long for someone, a man, a woman, maybe someone in between, but you can't say it aloud, can't write it plainly. What do? You paint them into a myth. You give them wings. You cloak them in sainthood. You embed them into history where they might live safely. Sometimes the clues are more playful. In a tucked away manuscript, there's a marginal doodle of two monks sneaking a kiss behind a lectern. It's barely noticeable, drawn like a prank, but it's survived centuries. And maybe that's the point. These artists weren't just hiding, they were preserving. But don't be fooled into thinking the world was uniformly hostile. Some cities, like Florence, had strangely elastic moments in time. The Office of the Night, which literally existed to hunt down sodomy, also had records so thick with names that it almost reads like a census. These weren't isolated acts, they were communities' networks, entire atmospheres of affection existing below the surface of papal disapproval. Of course, when caught, the consequences could be dire. Public punishment, shaved heads, burned possessions. But for some, the risk was worth it. Because love, queer love, has always found a way to bloom, even in the tightest cracks of history. Your feet ache from walking uneven stone streets. You pass another chapel, and inside an unnamed angel stares down with lips parted, slightly eyes wide, not with holiness, but with something achingly human. Maybe the artist didn't name them for a reason. Maybe names would have made it dangerous. Or maybe, just maybe, they wanted you to wonder. Remember, the Renaissance didn't invent queerness. It didn't even fully understand it in the way we do today. But it gave people tools, color gesture metaphor, to express what couldn't be said aloud. The oil hasn't dried on the canvas. The workshop smells of linseed and longing, and somewhere a hand signs a commission, while another hand, steady calloused, trembling, paints desire in gold leaf and shadow.